Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Solo Leveling Arise video. Guys, I hope everyone's been having a fantastic Sunday. Enjoy your weekends, guys. We're going back to work tomorrow. Well, some of us are. The rest of us are going to be sitting here playing solo leveling, hopefully catching up on expert mode, which is what I'm currently doing. And I want to talk a little bit about what people have been asking me to do. Hey, Payne, what is the new meta? What we should be focusing on? And I want to just make this a little bit more clear with the meta. There is going to definitely be a change again, guys, coming forward. I believe that going... right now, dark is definitely the meta, but I think a lot of you guys need to be cautious on what you decide to do. I'm personally going dark because I feel like it's still a viable build for my free-to-play, but many of us are probably going to be saving. I want to talk a little bit about that, but before I do, I want to remind everybody, guys, real quick before we go any further, content creator program is going on. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, guys. Also hit those notifications on and likes, but also don't forget to support. Get yourself in the support program. I have 2 codes coming your way, guys. You guys can see they've both been submitted. Once they are approved by the 21st, I'll be sending these codes out on a daily basis to all supporters, and they're going to be great codes. There's also going to be another probably 5 more on the way this season, so hit that support, guys. Get yourselves in. I want to say a big shout out to my current top 10, NID 3306, Makuja, BW Panda, 2687, Jsto Turkatron, Ryan 3400, 2646, 81150, and Darks. I want to thank you, everybody, especially everyone all the way down to the bottom of the 2260. Guys, I appreciate you. Much love. All right, guys, now that we got the support system out of the way, let's talk a little bit about everything else that we need to talk about. Now, that is the meta, right? A lot of you guys have been asking, Payne, should I change the meta? Should I focus on dark? I'm going to be honest with you guys. Yes, dark is currently the meta. Okay, currently. Now, this is the case usually for every patch, right? There is a new meta that comes out, and everyone wants to follow that meta. The only problem I find with the dark meta, guys, and this is probably going to be the case for quite some time, is the fact that it is in fact a very expensive meta, right? But it is the meta right now. As it sits, dark will continue being a meta for a little bit of time. That may absolutely change by the next patch, right? And I think the safer team, honestly, out of dark would actually end up being water. Water is going to get their infuser next patch, and I feel like that infuser is going to make a massive impact to the water team, as all infusers have been to all of their teams. And I feel like we're going to see a pretty big change in how the meta works, and water probably will take over. So for those who are passing on dark, I don't think you have much to worry about. I feel like if you have a good water team built with Water Cha, built with Soren, Mei Lin, the infuser that's coming out, Mary, is probably going to be pretty impactful for that team. Now, the impact of infusers is starting to be noticed much more and more, right? We're starting to really notice the impact they have on the battles, and the fact that they kind of replace 2 to 3 roles sometimes. So sometimes replacing the support role, sometimes replacing a DPS role, right? And then of course being the infuser. So 3 roles in one. And it's becoming very apparent that Netmarble wants to push infusers our direction. So the meta is as follows right now, guys. And I want to be absolutely clear. For those new players first who have been building Wind based on the last instructions, I still suggest continue building Wind, only because Wind is a very, very dominant force still in the game, and it's a very cheap one. And I think a lot of people need to remember that, like that fact that Wind can function with A3 for a lot of newer players, while a lot of the other elements require a total of A5. So advancement 5s are expensive for newer players, so I would suggest personally keep building Wind until you're done. And then my next suggestion would be to focus on water when the new infuser comes out. Now, I would say light as well is really, really dominating right now because of Laura's release and the fact that Thomas and Gunhee are great. But the problem is Gunhee's a little outdated. And from what the leaks are saying, we might be getting the next light unit in Liu as the infuser in the month of June, which is really, really far away, and that gives you a ton of time to focus on everything else. Now, if the next infuser, in fact, is going to be for Wind, is going to be Antoine, you're also going to be getting a national level hunter for Wind, who we can see national level hunters obviously are really, really good in this game. Not like super, super broken, but good enough to consider pretty OP. And if Antoine is, in fact, Wind's infuser, Wind is going to dominate quite a bit for quite some time. But for the time being, guys, as it stands, dark is the meta, yes, but they are very, very expensive. As I mentioned previously, that they all require A5 access in order to really, really show their true potential. Now, that's obviously the case for all elements, right? Everyone's going to say, well, Payne, that's the case for all elements, and you're absolutely right. But for newer players and for players who have just started or maybe been playing for a month or so, getting A5 is a priority for one element, but if you've already been focusing on one already, don't fret too much. Because here's what I've noticed with the meta for dark, right? We really And to this day, this is still the same. We've only ever had one WOBL that's actually were useful for dark, and that was the Baron one. And even then, Wind was the one most people used because it had Hansimi and Mirai, and it was just easier to complete, right? So it's hard to say. Dark is a lot of fun. I think Dark is going to continue to dominate WOBLs, guild bosses and stuff. But as for their utility inside other places, it's still unknown. Dark, like Netmarble hasn't really give Dark a place to really shine, right? And that's kind of always been a problem for Dark's main issue with Dark is the fact that yes, we have awesome units, we have cool units and units that we love, but it's like, where do you use these units and what are their utility outside of guild boss? And not everybody focuses on guild boss. Like, I think people need to understand how little amount of guilds there are out there that actually are taking guild boss seriously, and they're always like the bigger guilds, like my guilds or like Mouse's guilds or the one with Zaf and I. Like, there's a lot of guilds out there who are outside of ours that just don't either have the numbers or don't have the players or the capacity to do the damage that we're doing. So it's really crazy to see how much the focus has been shifted to guild boss, but how little amount of people can focus on that. So Dark is very expensive. But so to play the safe side, guys, it's going to be right now. This is my current list because Laura's release. It's going to be Dark is number 1 meta. I'd say Light is number 2 now because especially I'm taking the collab units out, by the way, guys. So take collab units out right now, and we're focusing on the non-collab. So if you're taking collab units out, it goes Dark right now. There's really no collab units impacted. It's Sung Hil Hwan, SM Beck, Sun Ki-hoon, and Igris, Sian Halat, right? And then second, I'd say honestly to be now that Laura is released, and if you're able to get her, it's probably Light. It's Thomas, Laura, Gunhee, Min, and Cha. Honestly, they still dominate. And then a very close second, I'd say, is Wind with Jinna. I would even maybe put... I'd say Jinna, Leonard, and Gojo. Or Goto. Wrong anime. Goto, and then we have very, very, very close to it. And I think these three are pretty tied. And I think Water is going to take the forefront very soon when Mary comes out. It's Cha, Meilin, and so that's Water, Cha specifically, Meilin, and Sarin. And then lastly, believe it or not, it's Fire now. And hear me out on this one, okay, you guys? It's not saying that Fire is the worst. Technically, if you have all the collab units, Fire's pretty much tied with Dark in my opinion, but that's where the problem stems, is Fire is heavily reliant on their collab units, right? And that's kind of a problem for the game and Fire as a whole. If you don't have Yuki, if you don't have Fern, and if you don't have Christopher Reed right now, which is not on the custom banner, you're kind of screwed, right? You're sitting with a very mediocre setup, which is probably going to be Gina, what's her name, Kanae, Essel, I guess, right? That would be your team. Like, now, if you think about that, that was a very dominating team when she first came out. But right now, Fire's in a really bad place, not because of the fact that they're a bad team, but only because they're so heavily reliant, like I said, on collab units. That is literally collab leveling Arise. So Water can still do fine without Freerun. Freerun is incredible for everybody, but if you don't have Freerun, you're still going to be fine with Water. Because honestly, with Miri's release soon with Water Infuser, Water is going to be perfectly fine, and they're going to be probably pretty dominant when she comes out. But Fire, unfortunately, because of the heavy reliance on collab units, which is, I think, a big fault of Netmarble's, they're in a tough spot. So as it stands, I'd say Fire is probably the worst in terms of no collab units available, but one of the best if you have the collab units. So take that as you will. But when it comes down to overall right now, meta, It's no question about it, guys. It's no question whatsoever about it. Dark is the dominating force at the moment, but the question, of course, remains, where are they going to be used and how are we going to use them is always been the problem with Dark, right? It's like, if they give them a WOBL to shine, I think this meta will stay for a while, right? If they don't shine, because Rock Passer right now, you have to understand, is in the story mode is weak against Light. So it could be a Light-Dark situation. Or they could pull a fast one on us again and make Dark only usable in certain areas without WOBL and give Water and Light that limelight, which could very well happen, guys. So just be very, very cautious of that. So for those who are planning to skip Dark, there might be a smart decision on your end at the end of the day, only because you're going to be able to perhaps get yourselves a Water infuser, and if you have a good water team, you might be ready for the next WOBL, which in my opinion, my water team is much better suited to tackle things, and it's kind of scary to me because I'm going all in on Igris, only because I love Igris, not because I think it's a smart decision on my end without having a proper breaker in Sun Ki-hoon, but I just feel like Igris is a unit I've been waiting for so long, and I'd rather have him than not have him on my team just because of how much I love this squad, right? The setup for them. So just keep that in mind, guys. So yes, that is the current meta. So let's just go again, just to summary. So I'd say dark, light with Laura, specifically with Laura, and then I'd say wind, water, very close to the light. I say all three of those actually are very comparable right now. And then of course, fire being last without the collab units, or fire being second with the collab units. Again, very, very big distinction there for you guys to follow. All right, now with that being said, let's see if I have a chance here in hell of getting this man. I've lost a 50-50 last time. There's still a good chance I can get him here. Let's hope I don't have to go to pity. It might end up happening, guys. Yep. I feel like we're gonna go to pity. We're gonna probably get pushed to pity. All right. We're almost there. Almost there. I know it'll happen before he's gone. I know I'll get him. Sun Ki-hoon is only a 0 right now, so I'll be able to get the summoning free version of him as well. I've only got Laura's. They've just been giving me nonstop Laura's, which, hey, listen, I'm not complaining. I need her for my light team, so no complaints on my end, but I would love to get him completed so I have a proper breaker in place to get my dark team up and running, and I pray to God that dark at least have some sort of viability in the next WOBL. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.